Okay. Yep. All right. Let's begin in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Heavenly Father, today on this first day of Lent, we cherish this Lenten season as a special time, a time in which we hope to improve ourselves, as Matthew Kelly would say, to become the best version of ourselves. And 3 ways to do that, of course, are fasting, prayer, and almsgiving. And today we hope to engage into these meditations that Matthew Kelly so beautifully writes, to your greater glory. Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay. I did that as a Catholic with no notes. I mean, come on. You know? Huh? Not bad.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I was feeling it today. You know? Feel a little Baptist or something.
I love it.
You were not doing Baptist, you didn't stay long enough.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true. If the meal doesn't get a little cold, it's not bad. I was telling someone the other night, and it's so funny because I was like, come on, it's getting cold. And that is true. Okay, well today what we're going to do is we're going to look at the first 5 of these. So each week again we'll cover the next 7 after that. So if you do the math, 7 times 5 is 35, right?
Yeah.
Those are our last 5 Sundays, and then we got 5 today. That'll get us all the way through 40. Thankfully, my CPA is paying off still, and able to do the math on this. So if you can just keep doing 7 each week, that'll get you through it. And if you haven't already gotten one from Gene, let Gene know because he can resend an email out. But the links to the website and going to the archive list are really nice because you can hear Matthew Kelly describe each of these if you haven't done that yet. And then the other thing is he's got a little summary there written, but below that is one of his associates kind of giving the application to their lives. And I found some of those actually to be quite profound and it's inspiring, you know. Kind of some younger people sometimes, you know, you hear and they're really taking this seriously in their lives, you know, how they apply it. So let's just start real quick with, I'm just going to give a quick overview and I'm going to ask you what you all thought. If you haven't read these, that's okay because this is a community of faith and we're all going to share, you know, together what we all heard. But what I wanted to start with really is that very beginning of the prologue. And my goodness, how many times have we had a little situation like this when we had to make a snap decision, you know, between what we wanted and what we knew was right. You know? And this gentleman had to make this choice, right? It was, I want to get home. It's a Friday night, you know, kind of thing. I want to get out. I want to get out of here. And he senses that, you know, he needs to do the right thing, and he turns back. And of course, the rest of them, come on, you'll miss your flight. Again, it's a very common thing, right? The crowd discourages us sometimes from doing the right thing, right? We have to kind of stand alone and do the right thing. And that's exactly what he had to do, right? Because Paul had to stand alone and do the right thing. And he says, go ahead without me. And doesn't really understand why necessarily. He doesn't fully realize the whole situation, right? It's after he kind of recognizes what has happened that he understands this woman is blind and there she is crying. So he didn't have to see that to turn around, you know, and go back. So that's a real credit to him that he did that. And then of course he tries to calm her down by saying it's okay on 14. And then as you notice, it says he starts helping, but there's 100 people passing this direction. Nobody else stopped to help. And how many times is that true? Where people are in such a hurry. Think about the Good Samaritan, right? People just going by, and there was one person that stopped the Good Samaritan, and that's essentially what it is here. And so he now goes back to the woman. He's not just interested in putting the fruit and the vegetables back, but now he's interested in the person. That's another lesson there, right? We can perform the task, but he's more than the task. He's about the person. So Paul asks the woman, are you okay? And then much like the Good Samaritan did with the person, right? Takes money out and hands it to someone else, right? For the benefit. And the Good Samaritan, of course, of the traveler, this time is for this woman. And he tells her this should cover the damages, and then she asks him this great question, right? And of course, his response to, "Are you Jesus?" is, "Oh no." That actually wasn't the right answer. Okay, we'll say why in a minute. The woman nodded and continued, "Well, I only asked because I prayed for Jesus to help me as I heard my fruit falling over the sidewalk. And now he is the one who started to tear up," right? And then, of course, he missed his flight. All the other flights were full because it's Friday night. And there he is in his hotel room thinking, when was the last time someone confused, probably me, he was asking himself, when was the last time someone confused me for Jesus? So was it Jesus? And I would say the answer to that was yes. It was Jesus acting through him. Now he might not have thought of himself as Jesus, but he could have said, well, it is Jesus acting through me. My name's Paul. You know, but this is the Lord coming to you in your need. It seems very arrogant in a way to say something like that. But I have to tell you, I say that a lot. Because I want people to understand that when someone comes to you in need, it's really Jesus that's ministering to that person, not me. Because if it's me, then it's just social work, right? And that's nothing bad with social work. That's a good thing, right? But hopefully we bring more than that to a person when we come to them through our faith. You know, St. Teresa of Calcutta was probably the most shining example of that in our generation, right? Who wanted to see the face of Jesus in each person, but as importantly, she wanted to be the face of Jesus to each person, right? And when St. Teresa of Avila said to each of us, you know, Jesus has no hands but ours. Jesus has no feet. Jesus has no voice. Jesus has no, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? St. Teresa of Calcutta lived that out in such a beautiful way, didn't she? By wanting to continually be Jesus to each of those people. Well, this isn't some new idea. In fact, it's sort of an older idea. When we get baptized, what do we call it today? A baptism. But what was a more common term?
Christening.
A christening, right? So in baptism, we were christened, or another word of saying is Christed, okay? We were made, okay, in the image and likeness of God, right? And at baptism, we are Christed, okay, christened, meaning that we share in Christ's mission, priest, prophet, and king, right? So in each of those, there's unique things, but we are called to be on mission for Jesus. So each of us, in a sense, is called to be Christ's to the other. So it's not so hard to actually say what I'm suggesting you say, which is yes, it is Jesus in my body, but no different than when the priest is standing there at the altar and saying those words that Jesus says. He is standing in the person of Christ at the altar, right? It's not the priest's words that he's saying, it's Jesus' words when he holds up the host and holds up the chalice, right? We don't have any doubt about that. We know that Jesus, you know, said those words, and it's Jesus' words that have the power, right? Well, who does he give those words? Who does he give that power to? He gives it to his apostles. He gives it to then his bishops and his priests, and then we sort of think he stops there, but it doesn't. See, we kind of think it does, but it really doesn't, because he gives it to all of us. Right? It's called the priesthood of the laity. And we forget that. We think priest, and the first thing we think of is man, can't be woman. Second thing we think of is, well, it's Father Michael. It's Father, not deacon. So we start to categorize right away, right? And we shouldn't. We should think right away that each of us, by virtue of our baptism, are called to be priests and to minister to each other. Okay? That's more than you thought you were going to get out of about 2 sentences. Right? So you can go pretty deep on these things, can't you? I mean, some of them are simple in a way, and yet they can go very deep. So I just want to get us started with that one. But, yes?
You mentioned something to the social work if you're just doing it.
Mm-hmm. Which is a great thing.
What's the difference?
Well, because I could do social work, and it could be out of my, I would say, the natural law that guides us to do the right thing, right? I mean, we would know it's a good thing to help someone that fell down, not to when they fall down to kick them. We would know that that's a natural law, right? Little kids would know. Just don't, you don't have to explain to a little kid. right? That if someone fell down, they would come over and maybe help the other one up, right? So there's a natural law within us, and when we follow that, we are doing good things, okay? But when we understand our mission as part of Christ's mission, we have a completely different way of operating because we know we're bringing Christ in that situation. So let's put it this way, if I was witnessing a marriage between a young couple and I was in church doing it, I would know it's different because it's a sacramental marriage than if it's a justice of the peace doing it. Are they married civilly in both cases? Yes. Is there a difference? Yes, because one is a civil marriage only, and one is both a civil and a sacramental marriage, right? Now, what should be different about a sacramental marriage is that there's an encounter with Christ in that. And that's the difference. In each of those sacraments, we encounter Christ, right? And that's exactly the difference, is that person should be encountering Christ, not just Pat.
And I think Paul was doing what he thought was the right thing.
Yeah,
And it was to the blind woman that he was Jesus, not to him.
Right.
I think
right,
Yeah.
that's part of seeing Jesus in
right. And
each other.
she couldn't even see,
Right.
and yet she saw.
So was he doing social work because he said it's the right thing to do? I should just do this?
That's what he thought he was doing. He was doing the right thing, right? Now, if he had thought, what would Jesus do at that moment? It would have been different, right? If he had thought, oh, I know what Jesus would do. Jesus would minister not only to the vegetables and fruits, right? But Jesus would minister to the person. And Jesus would have went even further probably, and not only restored the vegetable stand, but maybe he would have restored her sight. And then maybe he would have further than that and said, your sins are forgiven. Your faith has saved you, right? He would have gone even further, right? And we can only go so far. We don't get to tell people that your sins are forgiven, okay? Okay? We see the difference between just the pure human element and then bringing Christ into that situation.
Don't you
So it's
think
from our heart that Christ operates.
the giver is the human and the receiver is the one that sees Jesus?
Yeah. Or both, or hopefully both ways. You know, you see yourself as being an instrument of Jesus doing it, and maybe the person doesn't perceive it that way. Could be the other way. You know, they don't see it at all that way. They just see it as you being a nice person. But you know you're ministering them as Jesus, and you don't have to say, "This is Jesus doing this too." You know?
Oh, by the way.
That's what I do. Yes, maybe they'll recognize it. Yeah.
All right, so I have another question. I know this is
No.
long.
No.
So this thing when he says, you know, he felt something on his heart, is that what he felt? Or do you think it's something where the Holy Spirit's coming down and saying, Paul, you should do
Yeah.
this?
Well, as I said, it could just be simple as a natural law.
Yeah, okay,
A complete atheist could have done the same exact thing, right?
yeah.
I mean, someone that denies God even exists could have done the exact same thing, and said, no, it wasn't Jesus. I don't believe in Jesus.
Who's that?
Yeah, I don't believe in that, right? He could have done the exact same actions, right? And that woman would have had no idea whether he was operating with the intent of being a minister of Christ, or if he was an atheist. She wouldn't know.
I don't think it makes that much difference.
Not to that woman.
In this respect,
Yeah.
if you're like we are,
Yeah.
and we were to face that situation, we would know this is Christ speaking through us.
Mhm.
We wouldn't even stop to even question the situation, it's just how we would
Yeah,
behave.
yeah.
Okay, and there might be other people who might pick up the flowers and the
Mhm.
fruits and so
Yeah.
on, and leave it at that, you know, and say nothing. Okay, but keep in mind, as you said, what was she thinking?
Mhm. Yeah.
That's the key.
Yeah.
What was she thinking?
And she had a different way of thinking about it, right? But she could have not thought of it that way either. Let's say there were two atheists, would they have thought of it at all? No, they wouldn't. It would have been the natural operating in both cases, right? So they had a person doing the right thing, another person just seeing it as a nice person doing the right thing. So what it comes down to is what's in our heart, you know, and do we see ourselves as Christ living within us and us operating that way? So that every time those situations happen, we might say to ourselves, well, let's see, what would Marilyn want to do? And Marilyn would say, I want to catch this flight. I want to get home. It's been a long week. That's the human element, right? But there might be this little tug at Marilyn that says, I don't think that's what Jesus would want. I don't think that's what Jesus would want me to do. Because I'm putting myself before this person who just has the fruit and vegetables all over the ground. And I think that's what didn't happen to him. I don't think it did. I think he just thought of it as, I see what's in front of me, right? And then she transformed it by asking him the question, and then he had to ask himself. You know, it's a great question. I like that. How many people have confused you with Jesus today? Great question. Yeah.
David, actually, I started talking about it before you came in, but there was something on Facebook where Pope had made a comment about how to make the world better. And someone said, how can you listen to him because he said you don't even have to believe in Jesus to go to heaven, which of course is not what he said at all. But it brings me back to this. Do you have to say, I believe in Jesus to do Jesus' work or to be Jesus?
No.
Clearly that's not true.
Right.
Because God and Jesus works through. I mean, there's a reading, I think, for the next natural Sunday that basically says that you can only get into heaven if you do the will of God. There's nothing there or through Jesus.
Yeah.
It doesn't say you have to believe in Jesus. Therefore, to me, I think maybe because I'm such a believer in John Locke's theories of enlightenment, that humans are born with a good nature.
Yeah, that's
And the
natural
reason
law.
is because we're made in the image and likeness
Yep.
of God.
Yep.
Therefore, when we obey the natural law,
Mhm.
we are doing his work,
Mhm.
whether we understand it
Right.
or they understand it as that.
Right.
And that, by doing God's will,
Mhm.
that's our key
Right.
into getting into heaven. So I'm not sure that we have to acknowledge or somebody else acknowledge that we are Jesus.
Right.
As long as we're doing what he wants, we're being his tool,
Right.
his hands,
Yeah.
his feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not sure that I really
So the question would be,
understand at least what
yeah,
he's
so the
trying to
question would
say.
be, would it make a difference if you had a mission? Would it make a difference if you had this purpose to say, my purpose is to be Christ's hands, Christ's feet, Christ's voice? Would that change anything? And for me, the answer is absolutely yes. Because left to my human nature, I hate to tell you, I'm just not that nice. All right? Because I know if I had a choice between me and someone else sometimes, I would have to say, sometimes me. Who hasn't done that? But Jesus, did he say that? I think he always thought of the other person and placed them before him. Obviously, the point of his death on the cross, right? So I think having that mindset, if you want to call it, or maybe a better way of saying it is a heart set, you go deeper than what you would be capable of alone. It's sort of like suboptimizing what you can do. You can do a lot, but would we suggest that an encounter between a person who has the heart of Christ is going to be elevated beyond one who's not? I would suggest it will be. A marriage that's sacramental, okay? And so on and so on. I think, personally, is something that can go beyond because of the love that Christ brings into it. Later on, we'll hear him talk about, are we really convinced that our faith life is the best way to live? Or is it just another way, a different way? And I would argue it's the best way, because it's the way he gave us. Okay? In other words, his plan for me is much better than my plan for me. You know, I think we struggle with this kind of dichotomy, and I'll get back to your question in a second, that I'm over here in my will, and God has this better plan for me over here. This is called The Best Version of Yourself by Matthew Kelly, okay? I'm over here with doing my stuff, and he's over here saying, this is who I want you to be. And what's the gap there, right here between here and here? Looks like a lot of pain and suffering, doesn't it? Conforming my will to yours. Oof. Oh, follow your cross, take up your cross and follow me, be my disciple. Oh, that sounds bad. Ooh, that sounds terrible. Oh, they're killing me. Right, as I go up this way, right? So what we try to do instead If we pray to God, that he changes his mind.
This will then-
Would you please be realistic? And give me what I want. That's a lot of times what we pray for, believe it or not. We want what we want, not what his will is. So we go this way sometimes, trying to get him a little bit back closer to us, we lessen the gap. But the funny part is, if we really do this, then what we believe somehow in our heart is that we have a better plan for ourselves than God does. Because we're trying to modify his plan to meet what we want. Instead of saying, I really do believe that you would have the best version of myself in mind. That's what you call me to be. And that difference is something I should want, not something I should suffer to, but yet conforming to God's will sounds just awful. What are you going to want from me next? See, we can go there, right? How much are you going to ask? Okay, I gave you my hand, now you want my arm, now you want the whole down body, don't you? And the answer is yes, he does. Okay. But see, is this something you want to do? It's like when you come to Mass on Sunday, is it something you want to do? Do you go to daily Mass Sunday because you have to or because you want to? You want to be there? You want to be there. It's all those kind of things. So are you learning to conform your will to God's, or are you still kind of stuck where you think, I got to get my will and his will aligned, but not yet. Or just a little closer, a tweak. Right? I think I would say now the transformation of tweaking. So just think about that tension within you, because we all have it. We all battle this, don't we? Between what we know God probably wants, or something more like he wants, and something more like what I want. We know there's some jazz going on there. Okay.
And you had a question too, but
Okay.
mine was kind of a comment. You were talking about what would, in Paul's decision to help
Yeah.
this blind woman, we're thinking, doesn't matter if you're a Christian or not,
Right.
but if you were thinking, what would Jesus do? I think in one of the early chapters in the book, that's what he's talking about too, is getting to know Jesus better.
Right.
And that's, I think, important to know, for us to know, what would Jesus do? How can we know that? You know,
Right.
by studying the scriptures, by
Right.
doing things like this. So how do you figure out what would Jesus want me to do, and then discovering more how Jesus acted and incorporating that
Right.
into our life, and
Right.
then also realizing, well, do I really know Jesus as well
Right.
as I thought I did?
Yeah, yeah. So let me write down a little phrase here that I think might help us a little bit. And you'll see this in a lot of books. Something. But think about this in your best relationship. Okay, the love grows in the knowing, right? So God is love. Okay? So you can't give what you ain't got. Right? You ain't got it, you can't give it. So if I'm called to be Christ to another, how can I bring the love, God is love, how can I bring the love of Christ to another person if I don't know who Christ is? Perfect point, right? The love grows in the knowing. So you guys have been married how many years? You two? 17. Do you know each other better than you did 17 years ago? Do you love each other more than you did 17 years ago? Sometimes? Boy, there's honesty right there. And that's on tape. That was Lisa McGill. But ain't that so true? I mean, think about how you start out with a relationship. You meet somebody, you date, right? You get to know each other better. And as that knowing grows, right? It doesn't stop the day you got engaged or the day you got married. It continues to grow, right?
David, I see it in a different way.
Well, that's a surprise.
That's the wonderful thing about perspective. I don't think I love her a bit more today than I did when I met her 45 years ago. What I think is I've gotten smarter about it.
Yeah,
I have known what it means to be in love.
yeah,
So the love doesn't actually grow, it's my knowledge of what love is that
okay,
is
yeah.
growing.
That's a good way of putting it, yeah. Because it's kind of like blossoming.
Yeah.
The flower was always there,
I
it
just
just
couldn't
wasn't,
see it all.
it just wasn't quite bloomed. Right? You didn't quite.
If she bloomed
See it all.
more, I might have.
Yeah. But as an example, think about that day you were getting married and you were there before whomever, whether it was a Justice of the Peace or in the Catholic Church, wherever. Think about yourself saying to yourself at this moment, I am giving myself totally to the other person. How many did that? Good. I didn't.
I can't remember.
I didn't think that. In fact, I was thinking about the honeymoon. And I was thinking about this is going to be wonderful to have such a great companion for life, you know, someone that likes the same things I like, and we do fun things together, and I just thought it'd be a great life, we'll have kids together. But I didn't think about giving myself the way I should have, because I was too immature. I didn't know what love meant, and I certainly didn't know what it was going to mean when we had kids, where I was suddenly not going to be the center of everyone's attention. That stunk. All of a sudden, I like my children. My mother and father loved my kids more than me. They'd come over and look, they'd play with them, and I'd be sitting there talking, they'd be like, right, didn't they? And we got,
But they don't really.
They don't.
They
I
don't
know.
really.
but you get the idea, right? So those things we kind of walk into,
No.
those you know, getting married and those time like having kids, we walk into with our eyes wide open, seeing nothing. We have no idea what we're getting ourselves into. Because if we did, we'd have ran. If you'd have known maybe what it was actually going to be like, right? Because some of us would say, well, I didn't know marriage was going to be like this. I didn't know it was such a slob. Or whatever, right? Or maybe the kids. That's a lot of work. Maybe it would, I don't know. But the one thing we did for sure was we made a choice, not knowing everything that was coming, right? And we went with it. We had a vocation to be a spouse and a vocation to be a parent. Right? But we didn't know it was going to entail the growth that we were about to encounter. Or we had to grow up and not be the person we were when we were a younger person, because we were going to have to mature into a person who realized that loving meant something different than a feeling or whatever it was. It was going to become willing to go to the other person, right? Not for what I get out of it, but out of love for them.
Two-way street.
Yeah, love became something more deep. So you can love the person, I don't disagree. You can love the person, you can love them as much. But the nature of that love changes drastically as we get older. Yeah. Okay. All right, we gotta get started on these meditations. So, this is where you come in, all right? What I'd like to do is just we have the opening thoughts one about rediscovering Jesus, and then we have these five. So since you had a chance to have the book hopefully last week a little bit, I'd like someone to pick one and say something about it, and we'll just go from there. Who'd like to start? And they don't have to be in any order because they're kind of random. So I feel like you have to start with it. Okay, I don't know which one to choose of all of you that have your hand up. It's getting hard.
Hold on, let me get a good one.
I've read it, but. Are we doing points to ponder?
Whatever you'd like to do. Any particular one, you can just pick a paragraph or a sentence or something that can kind of grab you. Anywhere in the first five.
Probably in the beginnings.
Okay.
That it's never too late for the fresh start.
Okay, so that's on pages 18 and 19. Okay. First one.
Uh,
Okay.
So like, sometimes I'm starting every day.
Okay. So every day is a new start.
Well,
All right.
some days I
Yeah.
continue on, but
Yeah.
then some days I just need to sit back and start it.
Okay. That's one of the things I always loved about playing golf, is every hole is a new hole. There's 18 chances. And no matter how bad you play the first one, there's a second one. It doesn't accumulate necessarily, because you can just have some really good holes and be glad when you're done, you know? There's a total score at the end, but a lot of people sort of ignore that and are smart about doing it and say, I'm just gonna have some fun today and see how many good holes I can play, right? Or maybe you have a bad front nine and you can say, but I'm gonna do better than the back. There's always a new start somehow, right? And that's what he's getting at. God is a God of second chances, he says, right at the top of 19 there. fresh starts, a new beginning. But boy, don't we all need a new beginning? And I think that's what Lent offers us, you know, as an opportunity to assess ourselves and see who we are from the moment we begin Lent, and hopefully allow God to work, you know, in us, so that by the time, you know, the Triduum comes around on Easter Sunday, we can say, I'm participating in this transformation. You know, I'm not just the same person I was on Ash Wednesday. Hopefully I'm a better version of myself by the time I get to Sunday with God's grace, it's Easter Sunday, right? And look at the transformation that Jesus went through in a much shorter period of time. But he goes from everything being okay to his passion and suffering, his death, and then after that death, transformation, right? Where he's resurrected, has a new body, you know, not just a resuscitation. So he goes through this transformation, so do I. Or am I just watching this all happen before me and thinking, oh, that's what Jesus was doing? No, it's supposed to be, you know, what's supposed to be taking place within me, right? So a real challenge to not just have a new beginning, but say, am I going to be different on Easter Sunday this year than I was on Ash Wednesday? Or am I just going to be so darn happy when it's over with because I was having a tough time not eating chocolate or not having wine or whatever you gave up? It's happy it's over with. Oh man, that was rough. And it's so humbling to stand before, for me, Good Friday, and I think about the sacrifice, and then I think about how I was complaining about the difficulties I had not having a snack. Or, oh, that fasting on Ash Wednesday just about did me in. And I feel like about 2 inches tall, and I stand before that cross going, and I was having a tough time with that, you know? So hopefully, you know, as we move toward that, we prepare ourselves to say, yeah, I really am growing, you know, with God's grace. And by the time you get there, it's not just a new beginning, but a better ending, right? A better version of yourself by the time you're done. Because I have been there. I have been there on Easter Sunday, just looking back on, I'm such an idiot. Because all I did was feel sorry for myself for 40-something days. And then I would also do the thing of, well, Sunday's technically not a day of Lent, so the thing I gave up, I don't have to do on Sunday. So I'll eat 7 times as much chocolate. So by the end of the day, I've done the same thing. You know, I love Father Michael, so I can pick on him publicly in front of the camera. But I figured out last week that his total minutes of homily time were at least 6 Sundays worth. Really? Well, do the math. 4 homilies, right? Over 1 Sunday. How long do you think they were? Yeah, 30, 35 minutes. So do the math. Let's say it's about 120, 140 minutes. Okay, take that number for a second. Just remember that number, 140 minutes. If he does 1 Mass a weekend, he would do a 20-minute homily. Times 5 is 100 minutes. We can do that on Sundays. We can kid ourselves into thinking, I'm really doing something big here, and then just blow it. And I used to do it all the time as a kid. I would eat so much ice cream it was always ice cream with my mother. Don't eat ice cream burgers. I love ice cream. So I said, give up ice cream. So I give up ice cream. And then Sunday, I would eat the whole box of ice cream bars. And then Monday, I'd be like, oh, I'm suffering again. No, I wasn't. Because I got to gorge myself in 6 days. To the martyr stance. You know, it was terrible. You know, that's not really sacrificing, right? If you go there. So I just thought, I had a kid around, I was kidding with Father Poncho about Father Michael. I said, he got his licks in. He just did it all on 1 Sunday. Father Poncho's so nice, he would never agree. He just had to listen. What? I love Father Michael, so I get to pick on him. We have fun. Okay. What else is in here? Any of the other 4?
I like the one where it talked about who is Jesus, who do people say that
Getting to know Jesus. Oh, that one. Okay.
And
The Jesus question.
yes,
Yes.
the Jesus question.
Yeah.
And I coach Little League basketball, and we talk about kids, and one of the things I refer to is, everybody's gonna make mistakes, there's only been one perfect human being. And that's what I thought of when I read this, is, who do you say? You
Yeah.
obviously know the normal, the Catholic version and the Christian version, is part of the Trinity and so forth. But it was the ideal to which we all strive, and of all which we will fall short. That's how, what I think he is, and it's why I have a hard time with your first issue. Who are you, Jesus? No, because I fall far short of being the ideal person. And so that's how I would answer that question, and I wonder if anybody else would have, problem with seeing it that way.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's more than a human being.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that was the question, that was the issue, or the thing that I saw that really got my attention, probably because it connected with what I've already talked
Right.
about.
Yeah, yeah. That was-
You could be acting as Jesus through faith, because there's somewhere in the Bible where it says, good works without faith are dead.
Right, yeah.
But what I wanted to say about the second thing here, it's how well do you know Jesus, how well do you have a relationship with Jesus, and that you know people better than you know Jesus, and to write down everything you know about Jesus. And I immediately thought of the Rosary. The Rosary is a prayer and meditation to Mary,
Right.
and it goes through Jesus' life.
Right.
The joyful mysteries, sorrowful, glorious, and luminous mysteries.
Right.
And if you know your Rosary, you
Right.
know Jesus,
Right.
who he was.
Yeah,
on this
it's
earth.
a way to meditate through the major events of his life.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And just in a sense, put yourself into those situations
Mhm.
as though you're there, and beautiful way of meditating on the rosary.
So the best version of yourself is really the closest thing you can get to Jesus. I mean,
Good way to look at it, yeah.
but also, I think of, if you think of the best version of yourself, then it's really the ideal situation. That means you're already a saint, you're in heaven. And as human beings, I think we can never get to that best
Absolutely,
version
right,
of
that's true,
yourself
yep.
without
Yeah.
going through this.
Even the canonized saints would have said they were sinners. They would not have ever said, I attained perfection, therefore.